All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Alyssa Berry, Investor Relations at IR Labs, and I'm proud to be joined by Avicanna's CEO and co-founder, Aras Azadian, and VP of Scientific and Medical Affairs, Dr. Karolina Urban. Avicanna is a Canadian commercial stage biopharmaceutical company established in research, development, and the commercialization of evidence-based cannabinoid products for the global consumer, as well as medical and pharmaceutical market segments. Featuring a best-in-class R&D team, a strong IPO portfolio, world-class partnerships, and a vertically integrated approach, Avicanna is a disruptive force in the cannabinoid and plant-based pharmaceutical space. Since 2016, Aras has successfully led a team of executives and scientists to navigate the complex and regulated cannabis industry across several international markets, and a focus on evidence-based products for medical and pharmaceutical market segments. His experience in the biotechnology and management consulting spaces have been integral to Avicanna's thought leadership and progress pertaining to R&D and clinical development of cannabinoid-based products, and the commercialization of the company's extensive pipeline of proprietary products. Dr. Urban leads the development and execution of Avicanna's preclinical and clinical research programs, including collaborations with leading neurologists, clinicians, and scientists. Dr. Urban also leads the company's medical affairs and has successfully developed and implemented global training programs for healthcare providers interested in prescribing medical cannabis. Before we get started, please be advised that this presentation, including the question and answer session, may contain certain statements or disclosures that may constitute forward-looking information. Please refer to the cautionary note in Avicanna's news releases and disclosure documents available on SEDAR. Following the corporate update, we will open up for questions. To ask a question, please use the Q&A chat function at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I will now turn it over to Aras.
Thank you, Alyssa. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and making the time to have an introduction to Avicanna for some of you, and I guess a corporate update for some of the folks that know the company well. We have been head down over the past several months executing various business models and various business units. So today's a bit of an update for some of you, and we're delighted to put that together as soon as I figure out how to change slides. So for the folks that are new to the company, by way of background, I am the founding CEO, and I've been in the company since 2016. The major milestones of the company are flagged here in terms of our timeline, but we began in 2016 really as a biopharmaceutical company. We were taking sort of the GW pharmaceutical pathway in terms of a pharmaceutical pipeline towards clinical development and ultimately Health Canada level DIN or FDA level drug submissions. And as the company has evolved over the past few years, pivots were made. Major milestones include obviously the acceptance into Johnson & Johnson's incubator called J-Labs, where we've been the first cannabis company, and I believe the last to have ever been admitted into the incubator. It rising into collaborations with major academic and clinical institutions, which Karolina will cover, including University of Toronto, building our vertical integration in South America to being obviously IPO on the TSX. And from there on, I guess the major pivot that's worth discussion is the commercialization of the pharmaceutical pipeline across various models, including cosmetics and medical, in which we were able to generate revenue, but also to generate proof of concept and data while we continue to progress our pharmaceutical pathway. So this is a new slide. It was a recommendation from Alyssa, which kind of helps to tell the story. But as an overview, Avicanna is a commercial stage biopharmaceutical company, and I like to incorporate the word commercial because that's quite rare, for a biotech or biopharma company to be able to get to the market. Coming from a biotech background in terms of having an innovative platform, scientific platform, research, for us to then translate that R&D into 30+ commercial products is something that we're very proud of. Today, these products are commercialized across a number of international markets. And because we operate within the medical and pharmaceutical realm in terms of cannabis or cannabinoid-based products, we do look at a global marketplace. We're not limited to a local market, in the United States, whether that's a state or international, whether that's a country, as a typical recreationally focused company could be. So today, again, we're proud to have 30+ products, but in addition to that, we have a very extensive pipeline of pharmaceutical preparations that are in various stages of either registration through a sort of fast route to market pathways in countries such as Brazil, and or more complex regulatory pathways in terms of the North American model. We also do operate within several other business pillars. We'll cover that today, which is cosmetics, medical cannabis, pharmaceutical pipeline, and then our raw material business, which is called Aureus. Again, we're looking at a global marketplace. We've had the success of entering 19 international markets so far. And then we do have our vertical integration in Colombia that is designed to provide us with our source of input materials as pharmaceuticals. To simplify it again, 4 business pillars. Cosmetics, so this is essentially over-the-counter opportunity under the brand Pura. Our cosmetic line Pura has commercialized in a number of countries. They're all in relatively early stages. However, Pura is a dermatology line that we will cover, and it's one that is going to grow with obviously market opportunity and further legalization of CBD-based products in international markets. Phyto is our flagship. Phyto is our medical brand. It's one that we're very proud of. It's a number of different drug delivery systems and formulations that are now commercial in 3 international markets, mainly in Canada, where we've been very successful. Of course, the third pillar, which is the future of this company, has always been the vision of the company, is a pharmaceutical pipeline, and we'll touch on that today. And then again, the raw material division, which we do sell the cannabinoids as active pharmaceutical ingredients, but again, that's designed to supply the other 3 divisions or the other 3 pillars. I'll now hand it over to Karolina to give an introduction to the scientific platform.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And really it comes back to the ethos of the DNA of Avicanna, starting off with a big platform where we've taken our R&D, shifted it into commercial efforts, and now are able to advance past that to better understand our delivery methods and as well as what works for patients and as well as the consumer. Next slide.
Karolina, it's a little bit hard to hear you.
All right, well, we'll try a little louder then. In terms of our scientific background, we have over 10 scientists who have been working on different delivery forms and as well as advanced delivery forms that increase the bioavailability. So really taking that pharmaceutical approach to leveraging some of the benefits of cannabinoids from the plant. That has led to over 30 proprietary commercial products that have launched across Shoppers Drug Mart and as well as in different places globally. We have also been able to take this and 67 pending patents that we continue to push forward. What has made this available to us is the federal legalization in Canada, where we need to be one of the leading companies pursuing cannabinoid-based research, and have been successfully granted over 9 research grants that allows us to do this with academic partners. Next slide. Just to give you an overview, we have many different types of partnerships with clinical institutions such as University Health Network and Sunnybrook Hospital and Sick Kids Hospital, one of the leading pediatric hospitals in the world. To also our preclinical or discovery partnerships with University of Guelph and Thompson Rivers University, where we're actually studying cannabinoids across a range of different patient clinical symptoms and as well as indications. We continue to advance this pipeline, and what's particularly been exciting, leading into the next slide, is the commercialization of these products at Shoppers Drug Mart. Next slide.
So Karolina, I'm gonna interrupt you. Your voice does sound pretty bad. Do you mind? You want to just come join me in the boardroom and we can do the call together? So getting into the commercial pipeline, I'll take over from here, folks. So again, we talked about 4 pillars, and those 4 pillars do operate at least with 3 brands today. So Phyto, Pura, and Aureus. So we're going to go through the portfolio. Phyto again is what we would call our flagship. Formulary is our portfolio of medical products. These are advanced pharmaceutical preparations that are prepared across a range of cannabinoid doses and cannabinoid ratios, meaning CBD, CBG, THC. And there's Karolina. And these formulations have been developed initially as a pharmaceutical pipeline, but are now being commercialized under medical cannabis in the interim period. This ended up being a massive catalyst for us because, again, we're generating revenue, but we're also understanding much more about the potential of these formulations across clinical pathologies. So we're understanding what patients are benefiting from. We're understanding what physicians would like to prescribe, and a lot of the pipeline developments, initially we started with oil drops, and a lot of the pipeline developments comes from that feedback, comes from the preclinical work or the clinical work, and of course, the physician outcomes that we're receiving from them. So as I mentioned, this is all advanced drug delivery systems. These are proprietary. So we're not talking about basic MCT oil formulations, which is typically what is available in the cannabis industry. This is taking a pharma approach, but getting it into the medical channels first. We've been successfully commercializing these products across national medical portals. A main one, the key one in Canada, one that we're very happy to be partnered with, is Medical Cannabis by Shoppers, in which we have a total of 23 SKUs, Abimedix, Cannabis, to name a few other. But additionally, we've taken these medical products and we have commercialized them across adult use channels and what we can regard as wellness products. So a patient can still walk into, or a consumer can walk into a dispensary and can purchase a topical product that can help them to alleviate, for example, pain. And for us, that's the equivalence of having an over-the-counter sort of platform where we're now selling these products into retail. So you'll see in the further slides, we actually have a number of commercial listings and our commercialization efforts in Canada are doing remarkably well and growing at a rapid rate. So again, proof of concept, 20 plus formulations in terms of raw phyto. And then what's really important is we're providing patient and medical education platforms so that we're teaching folks how to utilize these products, the risk factors, and what medical benefits they may have, of course, towards physicians. So Karolina, if you want to sort of introduce Avicanna Academy.
Yeah, the Avicanna Academy came out of the need that the physicians themselves don't have enough educational platforms to be able to learn about medical cannabis dosing and titration. This is particularly difficult when you don't have established doses for some of these products. So we've been able to walk through some of the patient pathways and create resources for physicians to support patients who need medical cannabis. In terms of our strategic partnership with Medical Cannabis by Shoppers, Aras has mentioned that this was very critical to our success. But what's been particularly excited from a research perspective is that we're better able to understand what products patients need, the types of dose and titration, and as well as when we move to that pharmaceutical pipeline, what type of indication are we going to study? What are the symptoms we're going to study? And that particularly gives us an advantage in terms of guiding clinical decisions, but as well as advancing towards FDA and Health Canada approval. This is something that we've been working on over the years and continue to look forward as we go through the pharmaceutical pipeline.
I think it's just worth noting a couple of key factors here is that Medical Cannabis by Shoppers is a medical platform, meaning patients need medical authorizations, or in other words, a prescription to be able to access these products. So there's clarity in terms of which indications the patients are benefiting from. But since 2019, we started collaborating with Medical Cannabis by Shoppers. Today, we have 23 SKUs of Avicanna products across 4 brands that are on the platform that are all doing quite well. And what's really exciting for us is the segmentation. So we've been able to segment real patients, in terms of the age. And when you look at some of the demographics that are labeled below, in terms of, the elderly patients, you can see that this isn't your adult use consumers that we've been able to target and segment. These are actual medical patients that are benefiting. And we have a strong belief that, raw phyto and medical cannabis as a general category for symptom management for some of these softer, let's say, clinical indications is a massive opportunity globally that will continue to expand on. So talking about the commercial platform in Canada, again, Canada was proof of concept, but even though we're not a licensed producer in Canada, we are intellectual property, we are a biopharmaceutical company. We've been able to establish relationships that has allowed us to build a real commercial platform in a very CapEx lean model, meaning we don't own a license, we don't have a cultivation facility in Canada, we don't have a manufacturing facility in Canada. The manufacturing is all done through partners. And within this lean model, we are currently working with 5 to 6 different licensed producers that have different expertise in terms of the type of products they're manufacturing for us. And we're taking these commercial SKUs, which today is 24 in Canada, and we've been able to put them into various commercial channels. So across the 4 brands today, we're proud to say we have reached 113 commercial listings. So that means it's a particular SKU within a commercial platform. And I believe For a company without a license, that's got to be one of the highest, if not the highest, and that's something that we're proud of, which also allows us to scale. Meaning, as these products continue to do well, marketing, medical education continues to progress, we can scale these without having to invest further in capital expenditures.
And all of this really links back to our pharmaceutical pipeline, which is our long-term vision for Avicanna. As you can see, we focused on generally sleep, eczema, epidermolysis bullosa, different types of pain management strategies, and as well as neurological disorders such as epilepsy and anxiety and depression. All of these use our proprietary formulations that we've developed in-house and leverage some of our clinical and academic partnerships. Finally, we continue to gather real-world evidence through subjective patient outcomes across some of these formats in Canada, which is why this medical cannabis by shoppers relationship has really been great to us. As well as we right now have a drug candidate that is in 3 international markets that is looking to get to the final approval stage of registration, which is a great catalyst for our company that will help us go closer to that pharmaceutical development pipeline. And finally, we have a source of economic cannabinoid API that ensures that consistency in supply chain that Aras can talk to. This is an example of one of our preparations, which is an equivalent of the Epidiolex, which is FDA approved for Lennox-Gastaut and Dravet syndrome, which is a rare childhood epilepsy form. This one is going into drug registration with a big pharmaceutical partner in Brazil. And again, this is using some of our API and our oral solution that we have worked over the years to have better bioavailability. And we believe that this will be a great catalyst for our company going forward.
I'd like to just add a couple of bullets here. I think what's really remarkable here is the unique opportunity we have as a medical/pharmaceutical company. You know, both of Karolina and I, worked in the biotech, biopharma world. It's rare, if not impossible, to be able to take a drug candidate, commercialize it under medical cannabis, optimize it under medical cannabis, get patient feedback, patient data, and revenue while you're taking a pharmaceutical pathway. And what you see here in terms of Trunerox, this is a product that we do have same formulation in the Canadian marketplace that we've had successful implementation with neurologists, with epilepsy patients. And in parallel, we've taken this formulation, we've produced it using our own API, our own manufacturing standards in Colombia, and have actually manufactured this as a pharmaceutical preparation that we're bringing into the market. Today, this product, as Karolina mentioned, is in drug registration stage in 3 countries. So we believe within the next few months, this is one of the major catalysts that we're anticipating. This formulation will be approved, or these pharmaceutical preparations will be approved. And from there on, our 4th business model, or 4th pillar being the pharmaceutical one, will also activate and start generating revenue, which is something that's very exciting for us. So today we're still leveraging off of the analogy I like to use, our singles and doubles, which is our medical cannabis program, to fund what is ultimately the home runs, which is the pharmaceutical preparations. So Pura, we mentioned Pura a few times. This was one of the first line of products we actually brought into the market, and this is a dermatology focus. It's registered as a cosmetic in I think about 7 or 8 countries. These are dermatology formulations that Avicanna has developed from the ground up, focus on areas such as eczema, acne, even anti-aging, and registered again under cosmetic banners in particular countries. In Canada, they're still sold as medical cannabis because CBD cosmetics are not allowed. But we believe ultimately this proprietary set of formulations that have gone through human clinical trials are the standard for CBD-based skincare. And as market opportunities expand, we're looking and we are partnering with larger pharmaceutical companies and cosmetic companies that have that infrastructure to do the distribution and sales of this. So this is something that, again, that we're proud of, and it's been in the periphery over the last year or so as we more so focus on the medical and pharmaceutical pillars. Our raw material division, Aureus. So Aureus is part of a joint venture that we have with a large agricultural company in Colombia. It's the facility or the infrastructure is called Santa Marta Golden Hemp. Avicanna is a majority owner. This facility is in Santa Marta, Colombia, where we're producing extremely low-cost biomass, meaning cannabis flower that we're then extracting, in some cases purifying into CBD and CBG, We are utilizing this infrastructure to fill in our drugs or our medical products or even our own cosmetics. However, in addition to that, we have built pharmaceutical partnerships that we're supplying others with the input material, which is important. The way we've built this business is that the various pillars can be service providers to each other, can be complementary, could be synergistic, but they're all designed to be their own profit centers. And this is really important for us because we need to ensure, given the early stages of this industry, given the volatility of this industry, for us to build pharmaceutical drug candidates, but not ensure the source of its input material, meaning not ensure the cannabinoids, was something that we flagged as a risk back in 2017. And that's why we built this infrastructure. And looking back, it was the right decision because today the cannabis industry still is extremely volatile. And as a company that is only focused on the medical and pharma, it's very important for us to have our own infrastructure for that. 300,000 square feet of greenhouse. We have the capacity to produce 26 tons a year. Low cost, very low cost compared to the Canadian US standards. This is not conceptual. We've been implementing it since 2018, where we had our first harvest. We've had 30 plus commercial industrial scale harvests, USDA and GACP are certified as well, USDA organic. Finally, we have a very cool and fun relationship with Al Harrington. He's a good friend of the company's, and we have a strategic partnership across two brands. Viola is more his lifestyle brand that we've helped bring into the Canadian marketplace, and now the United Kingdom in terms of a medical product for compassionate use. Replay is a sports injury, sports recovery brand that Al has developed. Avicanna Formulations, we did all the scientific development. Recently, we were able to announce a partnership with the NBA Players Association, in which we were very much involved in that process. So this is an additional sort of pipeline of revenue generation in terms of licensing and royalties, but also commercialization, utilizing Avicanna scientific platform. Just a quick look. This is something I'm very proud of. I always joke for each one of these flags that are planted across the world, I've lost a year of my life. It's very hard to commercialize cannabis products in a very regulated market internationally. Some of these markets, some of these transactions might be small, but we have completed exports into 19 countries. And I give a lot of credit to our regulatory team, our legal team, our business development teams that have been able to find those opportunities. And as these markets, these international markets grow and become, Canada's and the United States at one point, we already have a foot in, we already have a path in, we already have our intellectual property or our raw materials in, and we've already found, in many cases, the right partner to work with. So again, looking at the world as our marketplace, looking at medical and pharmaceutical applications as our market opportunity and not recreational cannabis. And I keep stressing this because we've been working very hard to separate ourselves from that, is where we really see the opportunity as an international company. This is just the check marks again. Each one of those, a year of my life. Each one of these check marks has, required import, export authorization. We sometimes have to press release for the TSX to have comfort. So we do that often as well. And this is, again, where we've been able to enter with various business units. It's been a struggle and a slow process, but we're very proud of the international expansion that we're doing very slowly. Finally, as an overview, we are on the big board of the TSX in terms of the capital markets. We went on as a pharmaceutical / R&D issuer in 2019, which was, I think, the same week, some news came out about CanTrust. So it was the beginning of the end of the sector for some. We do believe that we're very different, in terms of our positioning, in terms of our high margin, proprietary, high entry barrier approach, international approach. But of course, we've had a bit of a baby out with the bathwater syndrome in the last couple of years. I believe investors, for the right reasons, have been upset at the cannabis sector, but I strongly believe in the market. I strongly believe in the medical efficacy, and I do believe winners are going to be identified, and those winners are going to grow to take on the growing market share that exists. So we're very excited about the future of this company. There's some major catalysts that we're excited to announce in the next few weeks. So for some of you that this is a new story, we do ask that you pay attention and see what's coming, because again, we're very excited. I won't go through bios, but the team, myself, I've been here for 7 years. Karolina's been with us for 4 years. Most of the senior team have been there from the beginning. We're ground up. We built this entire infrastructure and platform together as a team. We all come from professional walks of life, whether that's management consulting, research, clinical, finance, marketing, etc. So we're very proud of sort of the way this team has transformed and evolved, and we believe that we're in a transformational stage / inflection point where the company becomes self-sufficient during 2023 and the company continues to grow. It's a very much scalable intellectual property business model. I won't go through the corporate highlights, but I think you guys are familiar with the story now, and that was the objective. And I think we'll take the time to answer some questions.
Great, thank you both so much. That was a great overview. Just a reminder for anyone who would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A chat at the bottom of your screen. The first question that has come in, Aras, can you talk a little bit about the further expansion plans and other geographies you're targeting?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think last 18 months or so, the focus has been predominantly Canada. And this is our own backyard. We're Toronto based, and we work very closely with the medical community. So we wanted to ensure that we get all of our ducks in order, make sure we have our right formulations, right dosing, right education content, and really collaborate with the medical community. And I can tell you comfortably, we've done that successfully. And without really a sales force, without marketing, we've been able to exponentially grow our listings and our sales, which is a valid obviously confirmation. So moving forward, priority number one will be Canada. However, we're going to now invest within the marketing and sales of that I think is very important. And then second to that is going to be identifying our key lead countries. And within the key lead countries, which I can say today, Germany, Brazil, United States, the key there is in many cases we already have, but if not, identifying the right partner. And I think for us, the lessons we've learned over the past few years is that the right partner is a pharmaceutical / cosmetic industrial company. It's not a cannabis company. It's a company that has the sales force, the import-export, sort of logistical infrastructure, and the marketing infrastructure, because we do not intend beyond Canada to build our own marketing and commercial infrastructure. We intend to commercialize through existing partners. So my core countries are going to be United States, UK, Germany, Brazil, where we are currently active, and we believe those markets are going to be very interesting opportunities for Avicanna specifically.
Perfect, thank you for that. There's a few questions around financial performance. Can you talk a little bit about which verticals are contributing the most? I don't know if you have a breakdown or a split that you can share, even just from a high level, and talk a little bit about the trends and profitability. We're not going to comment on forecasting and guidance, but I'll leave that to you, Aras.
Yeah, I'll be careful around how much I can disclose, of course, but we are filing our year end this week. But the trends we see within 2022 certainly was Canada. Canada probably represented about 80 to 90% of our revenue. And going into 2023, we believe Canada will represent somewhere between 80 to 85% of our revenue, which we expect to be substantially higher than 2022. And within Canada, that's predominantly driven from medical channels, meaning Phyto and some of our other brands within medical cannabis. We are starting to see early revenues of pharmaceuticals in the form of licensing fees during 2022. And during 2023, we will continue to see licensing fees and licensing revenue from our pharmaceutical products, but we'll start generating commercial revenue from our pharmaceutical products. The beautiful part about the pharmaceutical revenue is on the licensing fee side, it's 100% margin, and when you're talking about finished products, that's very high margin. So I think one of the major differentiators within Avicanna's products to let's say the cannabis industry is the high margin, high entry barrier proprietary products that we're delivering into the market.
Great, thank you. Question here about the integration of medicinal mushroom products into what we're doing. Is that something we're going to look at all?
Yeah, so we have a partnership with a company called EI Ventures. They're very close friends of ours. They're shareholders, and they're very much focused on the nutraceutical and pharmaceutical applications of fungi. Through this partnership, we've established a line of formulations and products that are nutraceutical, not psychedelic, nutraceutical active mushroom ingredients, meaning lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, etc. And we've utilized Avicanna's scientific platform to put these fungi with a number of synergistic active ingredients to create functional products that can be then commercialized under supplements and nutraceuticals. We believe that the line will be commercialized under the Silly brand, which is their trademark, sometime probably mid this year within the United States, Canadian market. And of course, having access to Avicanna's international distribution sets the stage for these products to also become international. The beautiful part about that is because they're nutraceuticals, they don't have cannabinoids. From a regulatory perspective, it's substantially easier to get these products into the market, but yet they're cool and obviously efficacious from our perspective.
Great, thank you very much. Another question here around your marketing strategy for reaching patients and building brand awareness.
You want to take the lead on this one?
Sure. Great question. First of all, one of the cool opportunities here is we've gone out. There's different types of regulatory difficulties in Canada to be able to actually promote medical cannabis to patients. However, we've taken a physician-first approach where we're educating physicians on the use of medical cannabis, and through that, we've successfully grown our sales, and as well as a big push is still word of mouth. So when you look at different types of groups, for example, pediatric epilepsy being one of them, these epilepsy groups often have a large amount of patients and caregivers that are on those platforms. And once they have a product that works for them, then it kind of goes around to those other patients. So it is still really a grassroots approach to educating individuals about using medical cannabis. However, one of the other strategies that we recognize has been successful for us is actually going into hospitals. So right now we are the first and only medical cannabis company to have our raw Phyto products available at pharmacies at a hospital chain at Sunnybrook Hospital, which speaks to, one, their security of our products themselves, but also I believe that's something that we can grow to other hospitals. It really helps take out the stigma of cannabis, and it also eases the access of medical cannabis to patients. And that's where we're going to spend our next few months going.
Yeah, I would just add, traditional sort of pharmaceutical sales meets medical cannabis education, and it's something that we believe has been neglected. I think since the launch of adult use in Canada, everyone's been focused on putting out high THC products for recreational consumers, and in many ways, patients have been neglected. The medical community has been neglected. So our focus being medical, one, makes us qualified for this, and two, we do know how to communicate with the medical community that we believe we sit in very high regards with. So that's going to be the approach. We would like to treat 2022 as more of a proof of concept, pilot development stage, in terms of our commercial portfolio opportunity, and 2023 will be the scale up of that with medical sales.
Next question, can you comment, are we profitable? What's that look like, Aras?
We're on track to be self-sufficient and be positive this year. I believe that it is achievable. Given the market conditions, given sort of the stigma associated to cannabis, as I said earlier, the analogy is to utilize the singles and doubles to fund the home runs. Usually pharmaceutical approach is scary for investors. They believe it's going to cost us hundreds of millions. It's not when you're dealing with, products and formulations that have good safety profiles as cannabis does. So we're in a position to achieve profitability during 2023. And that means that, our retained earnings are going into our own R&D scientific developments, meaning that we found clever ways to license technology, to get pharmaceutical companies involved in earlier stages, to pay licensing fees for particular jurisdictions. So that revenue comes into the company, the medical sales comes into the company, and we can become self-sufficient. And that's been the objective since, 2019. We've been able to substantially lower costs while in parallel increasing revenue, while in parallel advancing the drug pipeline. And I think that is quite rare. And it's put a lot of pressure on the team, but I think the team has responded well. So yes, we're on track.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and congrats on that.
Thank you.
Last question that's come through here, and some of them I have been able to answer directly to some folks who've sent some questions through. We referenced a company called EI Ventures, who's a strategic shareholder of ours and a partner. Do you want to just comment on that? There are a few questions about who is EI Ventures.
Yeah, so I think they are very much a nutraceutical and pharmaceutical focused company related to fungi and some other natural excipients and sort of the natural medicine pathway. They've made a number of strategic investments within that wellness, medical, and pharmaceutical side. During the last year or so, they've made a couple of strategic investments into Avicanna, which obviously was very helpful through our growth phase. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a multi-level partnership and relationship that is not limited to just their investment. In parallel, we did announce a strategic relationship related to the development of their silly branded Avicanna formulations for nutraceutical fungi-based products that we're going to be bringing into the Canadian, US, and international markets.
Awesome. Thank you very much. There is one more that snuck in here. I just want to make sure we give everyone the opportunity. It says here, please share the extent to which THC-based products will drive new product development given the current focus on CBD and CBG.
So Phyto does have THC products. So if we go back to sort of the formulary, and I'm going to try to quickly get up there, these are advanced formulations that are offered in water-soluble infusers, oil drops, transdermal gels, capsules, tablets, etc. And depending on the clinical indication or the clinical pathology or even the symptom that we are targeting, THC is utilized. So as an example, for pediatric epilepsy, we have proof of concept in terms of CBD only. We're looking at some of the non-psychoactive rare cannabinoids in our collaborations with the University of Toronto and UHN, where we're seeing interesting signals. So there are particular formulations and clinical pathologies that do not require THC as a psychoactive agent. However, we do know areas such as sleep, anxiety, depression. The appropriate dosing and titration of THC is key. And what's important for us is, as a medical company, we believe in the efficacy of THC, but what we believe in is the right dose, the right delivery, and making sure the product that the patient has is accurate, so a patient can accurately dose and titrate. As an example, our sublingual spray, we have a version that has THC, that every spray is 1 milligram of THC. And that really allows a patient to titrate the type of effect that they need. Or when you're looking at something like sleep, we actually have a tablet technology that is sustained release, which we believe is going to be very interesting for the sleep. It's something that will release THC in periodic, sort of in a controlled setting, rather than giving someone a very strong high and therefore potentially risking adverse events. Karolina, anything you want to add?
Well, that was well said. I mean, the other thing to consider, a lot of companies have gone with a THC forward product in Canada in particular, but what we're seeing is that CBD helps complement some of those effects. And in fact, if you were to look at, for example, chronic pain, that you need a little bit of THC to attenuate the pain, but in fact, adding CBD helps deal with the underlying inflammatory state the body might be in. So what we've been studying is the combinations of these, and what we're seeing is having something that has CBD present with the context of THC as well helps us have a better effect. So I think you'll see going forward, in general in the cannabis space, that it's not going to just be THC forward products, but you'll also see the introduction of other cannabinoids. So for example, CBG that we've been studying for over the years has great analgesic and anti-inflammatory properties that we believe will greatly benefit patients.
Excellent. Thank you both. Well, Aras and Dr. Karolina, that concludes our Q&A session. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And please be sure to add TSX AVCN to your watch list. A replay of today's webinar will become available in the next few days. Please keep an eye out on our social channels. And please do feel free to reach out if you have any further questions. And wishing everyone a fantastic week. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.